Sports. Thank you for joining us here on another live stream. We're going to dive into a ton of Pittsburgh Steelers news after a weekend filled with, not a lot of things going on in terms of the sporting world. The Daytona 500 concluded last night with William Byron taking the checkered flag, winning his second consecutive Daytona 500. So that was about one of the few highlights of the weekend. You had USA Hockey. I'm not too far into that stuff, but they did have a good showing. So USA Hockey was something that was you could look forward to during the weekend. But we are going to dive into some Steelers chat here today. We're going to talk about that offensive line. We're going to talk about that quarterback situation, and we are going to dive into some of the top draft prospects that the Pittsburgh Steelers could possibly use to fill some holes. I feel like there's some, a shit ton, I feel like, of cornerbacks. I feel like you can get that done to match somebody up with Joey Porter Jr., hopefully still develop a guy like Corey Trice. I feel like that could be something they could do. I feel like there are some wide receivers that you could hit from about the 20 area up through, the back end of the second round of the draft. I feel like you could hit there. I also feel like you could hit along that defensive front in a big way, in the first couple rounds, definitely, and give your team something of significance. So there is a ton to talk about, a ton going on, so we will continue to do that, but make sure you're double tapping that screen, hitting that like button for us here on the show. We truly appreciate it. Send us out there into that YouTube algorithm. What's up, TD? Daniel Warman, another Wombat in the house, Miss Pittsburgh in the house, waving that terrible towel. Wave that terrible towel for Miss Pittsburgh. Again, guys, we are diving in here, so make sure you put your comments, questions, and concerns inside of the live chat. As always, if you're not watching it now, you can watch it later. And again, guys, hitting that like button is so important so we can continue to offer ad-free entertainment to you guys. And again, super chats are always open. Also, the super gifts are open, and just hitting that like button is just fabulous, and I'm so appreciative of that. So let's continue to roll on. I do want to start, though, with that offensive line, guys. That's where I really want to dive in. You have two players walking away here in free agency that the Steelers probably aren't going to pursue. One being guard James Daniels, the other being a guy that the Steelers had a lot of high hopes for, and Dan Moore Jr. He's going to be allowed to walk. He's not going to be worth that money in terms of what he would probably want. And I feel like Dan Moore Jr. played himself into a bench role in this league. I feel like Dan Moore Jr. was one of the few bright spots early on in the season of 2024 for the Steelers offensive line, but yet played his way into being a guy that's going to be tossed onto the bench, a guy that's not going to be a starter in this league. That's where I feel like Dan Moore Jr. played himself here late in the year. James Daniels, a guy that's going to require some funds, man. He's going to require a bag. And yet he's coming off that Achilles injury. Is that something the Steelers would be interested to do, considering the play of Mason McCormick? I feel like they are highly doubtful on going after these two guys. I think that they are just guys they are going to part ways with. And are you comfortable as a fan letting these two walk away? Do you feel like the Steelers will be able to overcome that this offseason and be able to add the proper positional players? Again, we mentioned Mason McCormick. You do have Broderick Jones. You put significant draft capital into his counterpart and Troy Fautanu, a guy that also was injured, but you have tremendous hopes in. You hit the lottery with Zach Frazier because he was the best center in the 2024 draft, and you just happened to get him in the second round, thankfully. So, again, you have Isaac Seumalo also. I don't want to forget him. So, yeah, a lot of players along that offensive line that you still have a lot of high hopes for. You still have a lot of faith in. Yet you're still wondering, how do they feel this out? How do they make this work? And again, sliding Broderick Jones over to that left side, does that fix him? Is this a Pat Meyer problem? There's so many things here at play that really make you wonder if the Steelers are going to be able to overcome these situations in terms of the couple offensive line pieces that they really lack here. One plus is that you got Mason McCormick a ton of NFL starters reps. That's going to be key. And I think him going into year two, that's going to pay big dividends. I feel like Zach Frazier is going to be very, very much much improved, considering the amount of time that he was the starter basically the whole damn season. So, yeah, Zach Frazier, that guy, yeah, he had a little bit of an injury, but yet he got tons of reps as the starter. So, yes, I think there's enough there that the Steelers could go out, and even in the draft, I feel like there's a lot of offensive linemen that you could go after there and continue the trend of getting really young. And I know some people get fearful of having too many young guys. I'm not one that will, because I think that, again, the Steelers' window isn't open in 2025. And if it happens to be a year that they are highly successful, great. But I really feel like you're looking at 2026, 2027, 2028 being the real window for the Pittsburgh Steelers to take that step at being a really competitive Super Bowl caliber roster. And I think that's all dependent on that quarterback situation again. But where you're at right now in terms of the offensive line, if you continue that trend in building, getting younger, and continuing that over and over here, I feel like things are going to start to work out. And again, it's going to take a couple years for some guys to get their feet underneath them in the NFL. But you already got that started, man. You got Broderick Jones, who's already had his lumps. Hopefully, he'll get better. Hopefully, he'll continue what we thought we were going to see from him in his rookie season. Yeah, he lacked technique there. He utilized his brute strength. But, man, you're hoping in year 3 that guy's going to take that real leap, in terms of being that solidified cornerstone franchise left tackle. You hope that be the case. So there's still high hopes in Broderick. There's still high hopes in Troy Fautanu, who many people thought was really going to be a stud this year. He was really starting to show his abilities, but yet that injury sidelined him. And again, you're looking at this offensive line, and you can say to yourself, you have 4 ultra young guys that are no more than going into year 3. Isaac Seumalo being the only odd man out in that situation. I don't know how you can't be excited about that, because that is awesome. You have several players going into year 2, several players, or one player going into year 3, and a veteran. Man, how much more excited can you be? Now, if you're the Steelers, in my eyes, you just concern yourself on depth and call these guys that are leaving a wash and say, thank you for your service. We'll see you later. Why overpay for somebody when you have roughly $65 to $70 million currently as it sits right now available for free agency? You have a draft board that's favoring some of the positions that you're going to need across your roster. I just feel like you continue to roll with this. And again, this isn't your year. 2025 isn't the year that you should be set up and thinking you're going to win a Super Bowl. You're looking at 26, 27, 28. That's where you need to have your eyes set if you're the Steelers. So a lot going on there. And I'm curious of what we'll see from you guys in the chat regarding that. Downtown's in the house. Sergeant Kayla, what's up? TJ is, let's keep going. Daniel Warman, do you see the Steelers using the franchise tag on any players? Also, whoever drafts the best will probably win the AFC North. Yeah, drafting is of ultra importance, man. Absolutely, Daniel. Good to see you, man. And do I see them tagging anybody? I don't right now, just off the top of my head. I don't see anybody that would warrant a franchise tag, because you got to remember what that franchise tag does. It puts in an exuberant salary, because you're taking the top, I think, 3 salaries at the position. You're combining those, and that's what that player's going to get paid for that year. And is that something that you want to do with anybody on this roster currently? I think the answer is no there. I just seen something pop up. I wanted to say thank you to TD, one of our moderators, Tom Dessenberger, for being a Mic Drop Mafia member for 9 months straight. And thank Tom for all his duties as a moderator. Thank you, Tom, and you are a true OG, man. Yeah, good old hockey downtown. I see you, buddy. Another Wombat. Let's have a problem of young, talented players, please. Absolutely. That's what I totally agree. And I think that has to be your mindset. I don't think that that's an issue, especially along the offensive line, guys. I think that this is a true benefit for the Steelers that many people are overlooking, and everybody wants to just sit there and count it as a negative. But I am on the other side of that coin. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to benefit dramatically due to the fact that they are very, very young there. And I still think that Isaac Seumalo could have another year with the Steelers. But I think if the situation dictates itself inside of the draft, you go ahead and you draft his replacement now. We had conversations, even when Brian was on our show from Steelers Almighty. He was talking about a guard. He was one of the few people that I heard bring that up over and over again. And I'm not disagreeing with him. I think that that might be something that you could find yourself in a great situation to find inside of this draft in the mid to late rounds. I think that there are offensive linemen that you could bring in and get going here. Allow Isaac Seumalo to be that guy. Allow him to tutor and really be a leader on that offensive line of young players. And just allow this thing to start to work out. You know, you get that starting five of Isaac Seumalo, Broderick Jones on the left, Zach Frazier as that anchor man in the middle, Mason McCormick at the right guard, and Troy Fautanu at that right tackle. And you allow them to start to gel, man. You give them that 2025 season to just get better and better and better. And have an understudy or two inside of the building, really starting to pick up on things, really starting to learn that you have in case of injury, that you have that you can insert when you maybe possibly move on from an older player like Isaac Seumalo. I think you have the opposite of a problem. I think that you are going to benefit in a big way. And all of a sudden, the fan base is going to wake up one day in a year or so, and they're going to say, oh, wow, we have the best offensive line in the entire league. And I know that it was painstaking to go through the period that we're going through in terms of the growing pains, but man, was it worth it when you get down to having a starting caliber or a Super Bowl starting caliber type of roster along that offensive front. I truly believe that that's the path that the Steelers are on, and you have to trust in Andy Weidel, a guy that really is a master at building offensive and defensive fronts, a guy that is really, really laser focused in on the trenches, and you have to trust this process, my friends. I think it's of utmost importance not to get ahead of ourselves and think that every year, yeah, we always want to think that it's going to be the Steelers' year, but we got to be realistic and we got to be truthful. 2026 probably isn't that time. And what are you going to do? Or, sorry, not 2026, 2025. 2026 may be that time if you can get the right quarterback. But that'd be a conversation we're about to dive into. So, yeah. 2025 could be that year of real growth and real significant growth, one in which you're going to be really, really pleased with the product that they put out there in 2026, because you're going to have guys, think about this. You're going to have guys like Broderick Jones that'll be going into year 4 and hopefully has tremendously grown after next season. You're going to have a guy in Zach Frazier that'll be going into year 3 as your starting center with 30 games started by the time that season kicks off, hopefully. 30 games in the NFL. 17, add a couple maybe playoff game here or there. You're going to have a guy that has 30 games of experience, playoff experience, a guy that's played in big games as your anchor point going into year 3. Then you're going to look over to your right side and you're going to have Mason McCormick, a guy that nobody thought would be there going into year 3 with also going toward 30 starts and playoff experience under his belt. Now you have to the right of him a young Troy Fautanu who hopefully will be in year 2 and have a full 17 games of starting going into year 3 of his career, healthy and with significant starters reps under his belt. All of a sudden, you went from having an offensive line that has zero experience, that has taken some significant growing pains, and now all of a sudden, here you have a veteran group that has tremendous amounts of starts under their belt, playoff experience, and now all of a sudden, you got something that you would feel comfortable putting a young gun type or quarterback behind. You would feel comfortable that they're not going to get their face ripped off. Awesome. It's a great situation to be in, guys. And again, I think a lot of people are overlooking it. A lot of people are diminishing that story. That is the major storyline of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, is this offensive line has the absolute chance to be tremendous heading into 2026 off of that path that we just talked about. And it's not an unrealistic path, guys. It's a very realistic path because all of those guys, including Broderick Jones, have showed promise, have showed tremendous promise at times. So we gotta definitely continue to watch that situation because it's the most important one right now for your Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, guys, we need you to double tap that screen, hit that like button. I'm going to dive into the chat a little bit more. Let me get a drink. I'm going to quit rambling on so much. I want to take some of your comments here, but man, I got to get that point out there about this offensive line. Steelers 626, what's up? I love bananas. Pittsburgh Steelers. Robin, y'all should start Justin Fields. T Money, lightly used Chiefs jersey on eBay. Perry County Productions. The NFL needs more women referees. Grasshopper Plus. Go Browns. Go Birds from Robo. Wave that terrible towel for Miss Pittsburgh. Congratulations, Tom, for 9 months from downtown. Absolutely. Listen to Miss Pittsburgh. Let's hit that like button. Jewish. Hey, brother, can I? You can't. Another wombat. The elephant in the room is the quarterback and what is actually happening there. Yeah, and we're going to dive into that. I got a lot of notes here that I want to talk to you guys about with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and I'm going to give you the reality of the situation. Again, you can go to some other channels, you can go to some other news outlets, and they're going to beat around the bush, and they're going to talk everything about these two guys in a way that maybe it's just a little unrealistic. We're going to talk about the real nuts and bolts and the real way this can all unfold, and really probably how the Steelers are looking at it because it's the most realistic and the only realistic thing. I got a comment earlier of somebody telling me that what am I doing here? I'm all of a sudden trying to crown Justin Fields because he had a 4-2 record to start. You got to listen to the whole conversation. Those of you that listen to me every single day, you know what I think about Justin Fields. He has a tremendous amount of growth still yet to do, but I'm not going to discount the growth that young man had. And I'm not going to look at the only variable is of what he did in Chicago because he didn't do those things in Pittsburgh. He didn't fumble the ball a ton. He didn't throw a bunch of interceptions. The young man grew. He grew, and that's all you can ask for. And you have to be realistic with yourself about the quarterback landscape of the NFL in 2025. If you're the Steelers, there's only a couple realistic options that make sense, and none of them involve names like Matthew Stafford. None of them involve names like Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence. None of those things make sense, guys. You're sitting with a nice portion of available cap space heading into this free agency period. March 12th, you're going to be able to go fucking hog wild if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and really bring in some key acquisitions, I hope. But again, you have to be a realist about the quarterback situation. Justin Fields and Russell Wilson seem to be plan A, plan B, and it has to be that way. And do you have to go out there and overspend for those guys? No. Again, 2025 isn't your time to win the Super Bowl if you're the Steelers. The realistic time is 2026, 2027, 2028. Why? Because hopefully you bring in a young quarterback, and when do good quarterbacks typically win the majority of their Super Bowl championships? At the front part of their career, guys. It's just the way it goes. It's just how it usually works out. That's why you see fans in Baltimore, they always rave about Lamar Jackson and how he's going to take them to the promised land. Guys, he's a second contract guy, and he's never got you to the Super Bowl yet. You've already lost your window typically with these guys. When they win them in the back half of their career, typically it's a fluke. There are very few quarterbacks that get to the back part of their career and are remaining being a winner, remaining being a Super Bowl competitor. Very few. Very few. Think about it. Just look back through history. Perry County Productions, the 3-4 defense will benefit the Steelers if they get a solid nose tackle. Yeah, I've been saying that. That has to be the priority. And we're going to talk about that and some of the top draft prospects. So this week, I promised you some mock drafts. We will do that. But tonight, I'm going to kick off a little bit here with my top prospects at some of the positional needs of the Steelers. And I think you could still go out there and draft for best position of our best player available and keep that mind state. Let's keep going. Nash Hunchmaker, 3rd round for defensive nose tackle. Sco 6 Trey, 22 people watching only night. Yeah, man, we get up into the hundreds of people watching. We've been at over 200 people watching before and had like 50 likes. So it just depends, man. We've had 70 people watching, got over 100 likes in the live stream. So make that make sense. I don't even know. It's so crazy, man. But absolutely hitting that like button is absolutely free. I keep this show ad free for you guys because of the likes. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to appreciate that I do that for you and don't make you sit through ads. But we will get to a point here to where I will just have to turn the monetization on, which sucks because I don't want it to be interrupted by ads. But we might have to get there. But all you guys got to do is hit the like button. It's rather simple. I know there's more than 11 OGs in here right now that watch this show every day. So make sure you're hitting that like button, man. I'm not a Fields truther, but I think he's the best of a ton of bad choices this year. Absolutely. I agree with you. Another Wombat. John Broadway. Okay, consistency is the name of the game when it comes to linemen. Teamwork and knowing each other unifies the line. So I can see where you're going with this, but still, I like a great pulling guard. Yeah, and I think Mason McCormick's athletic enough to do that. Absolutely, I do. I do. Another Wombat, thank you for gifting 5 Mike Drop Sports memberships. I appreciate that. Guys, that's going to pay off for you here this summer especially, so continue to watch Mike Drop Sports. We're getting back into that. So Butterbean, Eddie, Emmanuel, West Coast Berg, and Richard McCrossan was all gifted those memberships, so make sure you thank another Wombat, one of our loyal listeners to the show and a great contributor. Thank you for that. Truly, truly appreciate that. Robert Road in the house. I don't see the Steelers drafting an O-lineman this year. D-line, wide receiver, running back, and QB will be the main focus. Quarterback, cornerback, wide receiver in depth for the defensive and offensive line and free agency. Yeah, and what sets up perfectly, Robert, when you're mentioning where they should turn their focus. I agree that the focus got to be in a certain few positions, definitely. But I think how they got to approach free agency this year is to really solidify this roster in a way that you don't have to draft out for positional need. I think that's how they have to approach free agency. I think that's how they have to keep their mind state as they approach March 12th, because if you're totally thinking that way, like, hey, we're using free agency to bring guys in that take care of some of the holes, because we don't want to go into the draft and have to reach for any type of player, because let's face it, guys, in the draft, it's a gamble. Nobody knows how any of these players are going to work out. Nobody knows for sure how these players are going to work out. It's like playing the lottery. However, it's a little bit different. You're getting to do some research and trying to make an educated guess. But you don't want to go in there with the mind state in the draft of, man, you know what? There is a stud, a perfectly stud monster player right now. That's a player that doesn't come around very often at right tackle or right guard, left guard, whatever. Man, we could utilize that depth, but man, that player is awesome. I can't believe he's here. But you know what? We have to gain a cornerback. These are just examples. Guys, we got to take a guy that we might not necessarily not have ranked super high on our board, because we just got to have that cornerback. You don't want to be thinking that way. Again, that gets you in trouble. That puts you behind the 8 ball inside of the draft. You have to utilize this offseason in stages. You have to take it and break it into pieces. And it's the only smart way to go. And I'll die on this hill, my friends. You have to use free agency as a period to cover up deficiencies so you don't have to reach in the draft. If you have that mind state, I feel like you can do big things. It's simple, it's elementary, but it makes perfect sense. All right, guys, you got to double tap that screen, hit that like button. It's absolutely free. Also, there's 3 little white dots up in the right-hand corner of your screen. Make sure you are doing that. Also, sharing the show for us here on Mike Drop Sports. I'm your host, Jason. As always, make sure if you're not subscribed, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Join the conversation here each and every day as we are rapidly approaching our 4,500 subscriber mark. We're almost to 5,002, so definitely really, really great time to get get involved and get involved in the conversation each day. Awesome, Miss Pittsburgh. Thank you for 11 months of being a Mic Drop Mafia member, one of the channel's true OGs. If you watch his channel any amount of time, you know what Miss P is here at the channel. Hey, Beck, the real questions. Yeah, we are answering the real questions here. We're talking about the real reality. And next, we're going to dive in. I'm going to catch up on the chat, but while I'm catching up on the chat, double tap that screen, hit that like button, guys. It's absolutely free. It costs you $0 to hit that like button. So light that like button up. Let's jump up to 20 likes here real quick, as we're always trying to pursue 100 likes. Let me catch up in the chat, and then we're going to dive into some quarterback talk here for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, guys, a former Pittsburgh Steeler, Zach Banner, making an official attempt to try to enter back into the NFL. Before I get into the chat, I want to talk about Zach Banner, a 31-year-old guy that is coming off an Achilles injury, hasn't been in the league in 3 years. Is this a guy you would go after? Is this a guy that would make sense if you're the Steelers? I don't know. I really liked him when he was here. But 31 years old, coming off that significant injury, he's a very large man, so that's a lot of strain on your ankles and knees. So being out of the league for 3 years, does it make sense? Maybe to give a guy a tryout. But we'll wish all the best of luck to one Zach Banner, a real fan favorite in the city of Pittsburgh over his tenure with the team. So we wish nothing but the best for 76, I believe is how they always used to say. 76 is reported eligible, and the crowd would go fucking nuts. I believe that's his number. I'm off the top of my head, I can't remember. But yeah, a real fan favorite. So best of luck, Zach. If you ever want to come on a show, you're welcome to it. We could sit down and talk football. Definitely would appreciate it. Maybe I'll have to message Zach, get him on the show. Let's talk return to the NFL. Let's talk some things that would maybe be something the fans would be interested in. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to reach out to him. That would be a really good player to have on. Za Curry in the house, best Steelers chat on the web. JJ, love the show. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, Za. Justin Fields is the guy thinking he isn't is crazy work. The casual delusion is real. All these people that critique the Steelers don't like the Steelers. Why would they help us? You got a point. Downtown John Barbary, thank you, Miss Pittsburgh. Za Curry, old men or little kids thinks JF2 isn't the guy. It's getting old. Sorry, I'm intent. You're intense about your Steelers. Me too, man. Me too. Another Wombat. Old quarterbacks win because they take salary hits to allow the team to be good at other positions. See Brady and Manning. Yeah, and you bring up that example, another Wombat, but how few and far between is that? Really, how few and far between are those types of players? Because you can name them all in one sentence, and it's just a handful that have really ever done that, and that becomes the issue. All right, guys, make sure you're double tapping that screen while I'm catching up on the chat. Again, thank you to another Wombat for gifting 5 Mic Drop Sports memberships, and thank you to TD and Miss Pittsburgh on your celebration of being a Mic Drop Mafia member for consecutive months. Guys, it's always 99 cents a month. It really helps the channel to become a Mic Drop Mafia member. It will always be 99 cents a month. That will never, ever change, so you don't ever have to worry about that. It's always less than $1. $1 a month to support the channel. It's something that is definitely easy to do. You can find that in your couch cushion each day, probably. I just don't want another first-round linebacker. I don't think you're going to get a first-round linebacker here, John. They're going to draft a punter in the first round. Yeah, that makes sense. Stop calling me studs. It's weird. I didn't call you studs. I would never call you a stud. Downtown. Zakari the punter. Yeah. Yeah, I like Mbuke, man. I think that they got some options. Wayne's World. I'm sorry, Mike Drop, but you were wrong about Bo Nix. He's going to be great. He didn't win anything, Wayne's World. And I'm not trying to dog him because I hope for you guys as fans, I hope he does. I really do. I want fans to have something to root for, definitely. Almost knocked the light over. But anyway, Bo Nix is a guy that you got to see more, man. That small sample size that you got to see from Bo Nix this season is not enough to crown him, man. You can't say he's going to be great just off of that. You just can't. You can't get that far. This is what you can say, though, Wayne's World, is he has tremendous potential to be great. And can he seize the moment? That's where you're at. What's up, bro, Baron? What's up, Anthony? What's up, TJ? Brock is him. What's up, Wayne's World? Banner was never a starting caliber quarterback. You mean lineman? No, he could be a swing tackle, though. Team Money Eddie, it's happy hour, y'all. TJ from the Great White North in Canada. Absolutely, we love our friends in Canada. Thank you, TJ. Wave that terrible towel for Miss Pittsburgh. I have a Russell Wilson theory. Banner was it tackle? He was a tackle. Chiefs, Schittsburg need a wide receiver. Brady was trash. Brady stayed in the pocket for 10 days and nobody could touch him. Tom Brady, guys, nobody can sit there and ever say Tom Brady was trash. Nobody can say Tom Brady wasn't this or that. The man has 7 Super Bowls. That's what we play this game for if you're in this league. You play it for championships and nothing else matters. You can take all your pro football focus, all your fantasy bullshit, and wipe your ass with it. The only thing that means anything in this league in terms of measuring greatness is the number of rings that sit on your fingers. Period, point blank. And if you're not thinking that way, you have a loser's mentality and you're okay with mediocrity. And that's okay. If that's what you want to root for, if that's what you want to pay attention to, so be it. I pay attention to one thing. Guys that are winners, guys that bring home trophies, guys that add banners in the rafters. That's what I'm looking for as a football fan. I could give a shit less whether you throw 20 touchdowns a game or none. I don't care. Do you win ball games? And if the answer is yes to that question, then fuck it. We're ready to roll. And I don't care. That's how I think. And I'm just giving you guys my opinion. All right, guys, you got to double tap that screen for us here. Double tap, and it's absolutely free to hit that like button. There's 3 little white dots up in the right-hand corner of your screen. It's absolutely free to do that. That sends us out into that YouTube algorithm and helps promote the show. I truly appreciate that. Share, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, as we are one of the faster growing, I believe, channels. And it's not fake growth either. This channel has been built by loyal viewers each and every day. Our fan base here at the channel is some of the best in all of sports, in my opinion. Some of the most loyal. And this fan base, our subscriber count isn't a fake one, an inflated one. It is one in which people watch. It's one that people contribute, and that's a good thing. And I rather have that type of steady growth than just, we have 50,000 subscribers, but you know what? 2 of them watch the show daily. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for what we have here, and we have an amazing community. So make sure you join the channel, man, and join the conversation each day. Chiefs Nation got busted up. Here we go, Pittsburgh. Here we go. Absolutely, Miss P. The Chiefs will be back. My Russell Wilson theory. Russ knows Justin Fields isn't re-signing for less than 25.6 50-year option that Omar Khan declined. That's why Russ is confident he'll be back. All right, since you brought that up, Sco6 Trey, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you contributing to the show lately. I remember seeing your name now several times. So thank you very much for being a contributor, man. That does mean a lot to me, and I appreciate your comments. So now that you've talked about that, let's talk about the reality of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and what it's going to take to bring guys in here. There are going to be suitors for Justin Fields, and that is going to cause a slight overpay on the Pittsburgh Steelers' part. It's just the way this is all working out and shaking out. However, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a number in mind. You're hearing some of the insiders, so-called insiders of the football team, reporting the same thing that I have reported since summer. And those of you that have watched this show know exactly what I'm talking about. When I talk about a deal for Justin Fields, I have continually said $25 million, around that area for 2 years. And several people are now reporting that the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking at a number that they have in mind of $25 to $30 million over 2 seasons for Justin Fields to bring him back. That is a realistic offer that could be on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers to bring back Justin Fields. And I have to say, I agree. And again, I'm going to tell you, I think that is a slight overpay. I believe that he is around a $10 to $15 million per year quarterback. Okay. So I feel like you're getting a little bit out of pocket there. I feel like you need to be in the 20 to 25. So I feel like you're slightly overpaying when you're in the 25 to $30 million range. That's just me. And again, it's a slight overpay. I don't feel like it's a massive overpay, but I think it's going to take a slight overpay to bring in Justin Fields, and that's going to be plan A for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in 2025. That'll be plan A, the plan that they got to go with, guys. That's the plan that they are hanging their hat on. And this will be done within the first hours of free agency. The first chance they get to make these moves are going to be done at the quarterback position. There will be no waiting period. At least in my eyes, I don't foresee one. Again, in their plan B, whether you like it or not, in reality, it is Russell Wilson. And I think that they are going to have a similar number in play for Russell Wilson. That's what they are going to offer a quarterback this offseason. And their plan A and plan B are identical to what you saw in 2024, but in a reverse order. Russell's kind of playing that back burner, second fiddle type guy, and Justin Fields is in the lead pole position, as weirdo Mike Tomlin liked to call it. So you have Justin Fields as the main target of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Russell Wilson as a plan B. And if Justin Fields doesn't get signed with that offer or with a little bit of haggling there at the beginning parts of free agency, I'm talking in the first few hours, I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers move quickly to pulling the trigger on Russell Wilson, bringing him back for 2025. I don't believe it's the right decision, but I'm not going to say that it's the worst decision ever, because I think there could be way worse ideas that the Steelers could have. Absolutely. So again, guys, that is the reality of the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation. Cut and dry, no bullshit. And I don't think it deviates from the numbers that I just laid out for you. If you can find some other information, great. That may be something that may happen. But I'm being an absolute realist, and with what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've watched from this football team, I think that is the absolute most realistic report that could be out there on what the Steelers are trying to do. $25 to $30 million. And these are going to be fully guaranteed deals. And that's what they're going to offer these two guys. And hopefully Justin Fields is the one that takes it. But again, guys, with his 4-2 record, you don't have to do a shit ton in the NFL as a quarterback to garner a ton of attention, to really up your value. Justin Fields in that 4-2 stretch for the Steelers got himself paid a little bit more than what he would have got if he didn't play at all. If he wouldn't have played at all, guys, he would have been in the $7 to $10 million per season range. And that would have been kind of his last-ditch hope in the NFL to ever get a starting job, and he would have kind of had to taken it. He upped his payday by probably, roughly $7 to $10 million with his 4-2 record. That's how much 6 games did. That's how much that did for Justin Fields. A guy, again, that had high hopes, but has never played with the same offensive coordinator 2 consecutive years. Has never had the opportunity to, hold on, guys. Let me remove this person who's spamming the chat. There we go. What's up, Mark Malone? I see you. But this is the reality, again, guys. And I know a ton of people want to go so many different directions. But if you break down the nuts and bolts of this whole thing here this offseason, nothing makes any sense. Nothing in terms of your long-term stability, in terms of your long-term ability to go out there and make any type of splash moves when you have the draft sitting in your backyard in 2026 and you're going to want to make a splash. Nothing else makes sense right now. If you're the Steelers and you go out there and you make a foolish move for one of these 37, 38, or even older quarterbacks, and you pay them a shit ton of money, you handcuff yourself into a bad fucking situation. And if the Steelers are dumb enough to do that, which they quite possibly may be, you're looking for a very long rebuild for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just warning you now, guys. This will be exactly what happens. All right, let's keep going. Anthony, I'm pro Wilson with a fortress in front of him. I'd take best right guard in the draft and needed Deebo Samuel. Yeah, I don't know about Deebo. Brady was doing voodoo on Mahomes. Yeah, yeah, maybe. Robert Road, it is easier to build a roster, no doubt, but Mahomes is the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl on the first contract recently, as in 2019. Russell Wilson did it in 2013 and Flacco in 2012. It is actually rare. In my eyes, from what I've seen, when did Big Ben win his Super Bowls? In that first part. That's when he was really ultra competitive. And again, some of the players you're talking about, and you're better at the stats than me. But when I'm a fan and I'm looking at it, when do most players win? It's not in the back half of their career. It's not players that are Tom Brady's age winning Super Bowls. It's just not. It's guys that are young. And it's not a lot of guys that have been in this league double-digit years that are taking home Lombardi trophies. That's kind of where I'm getting at. That these players win typically in that front part of that career. When they start to get into that double-digit year total, you don't see those wins. How many have hoisted Lombardi trophy, in double-digit years? I don't know. I don't know the actual numbers. But as a fan and somebody that watches the game, it seems to me that players at the quarterback position typically win in the front part of their career. That's where it seems to be the most success in terms of building a team around them. It is tremendously hard to build when you have inflated salaries. That's just what I see as a fan. And again, you, Robert, definitely know the stats way better than me. I'm not a stat junkie at all. I definitely don't sit there and research that a lot, which maybe I should. But it just seems to me that younger quarterbacks, definitely have that success, that fire, that newness to them. Like a new car, man. You love it when you first get it, and you're ripping the tags off of it, and you're rolling everywhere. You're so excited about it, and it's so easy to do things to it that make it just so much better. That's what I kind of feel about a quarterback. You know what I mean? We talked to the Barbarian, Anthony. Chiefs are done. The Chiefs are, too. They got busted up in the Super Bowl. They're not done, I don't think. I think if you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, which is a generational talent, I think you're going to be okay. Brady was kissing kids for Super Bowl. Chiefs fans still licking their wounds. Team money, at least the Chiefs made it to the Super Bowl. Yeah, they made it to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to make it to more. I just feel like you're going to see a little hiatus here from the Chiefs. I think you're going to see a little bit of a fluctuation period in terms of their roster fluctuating a little bit. All right, guys, make sure you're double tapping that screen. We're about 43 minutes into the best show on YouTube. That's right here. It is on Mike Drop Sports and the show, Steel City Live. I'm going to reach out, guys. Again, I've been trying to bring on some guests, but I just don't want to bring on anybody. I've been trying to really try to get some players, so that's what I've been working on. So hopefully, I've been messaging the shit out of these people. So we'll see if anybody will respond. Fingers crossed, because I would like to bring on a player for a guest. Anybody ever has any connections, email me at mikedropsports@yahoo.com. I'd appreciate it. Also, anybody that got any type of content ideas that they want to see made into content, shoot it over there, man. You're always welcome to email us, mikedropsports@yahoo.com. A little bit of a hiccup there. I don't know what happened. The thing froze. Super Bowls from cheating don't count for me. That's from the Barbarian. I can't argue. Some of them I feel like might have been, definitely. I can't say that was true or not true. Brady cheated. Chiefs never cheated. The Eli Manning is better than Brady. Hey, Eli, he got 2 Super Bowls. I can't discount Eli. The refs being shitty by betting on games is the reason calls go certain ways, not because Chiefs are cheating. I love how that we all have these things that we think are definitive like that. The refs are being shitty on because they're betting on games, and we don't know, guys. And hopefully somebody does an investigation, because if Team Money's right, which he very well may be, I I would love to see it blow up in these people's faces, man, and they all come down because I hate cheaters. I hate people that do that shit, especially when you're talking about sports betting and things of that nature. You're fucking with people, man, and you deserve to be reprimanded. Craig Werlow in the house. What's up, Big Craig? Certain quarterback realize if they don't take the most and allow their team to get quality players around them to allow them to get to the ship, will make more money in endorsements and commercials. Yeah, you got to have a big picture guy, man. And hopefully the Steelers can find that in their next franchise quarterback, whoever that may be. Hopefully it's a big picture guy, not a very small-minded, simple-minded person. Because let's face it, guys, a lot of these NFL players are very, very small-minded. Very simple-minded. They don't see the big picture. They don't realize, a lot of them, that the opportunity that lays at their feet is one in which many will never, ever, ever, ever see. And they have an opportunity to create generational wealth regardless if they're a superstar player or not. You can go out there and make the money that they make as a basic NFL player and turn that into something very special. But yet, some of these guys rather go out there and be absolute fucking idiots and only think about the small picture. And that's sad. Hopefully, the NFL could do a better job at getting these guys that are coming into tremendous amounts of money at a very young age, a little bit more education, and get them into the understanding of how they could move that and really catapult themselves into a very secure future. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Going to be two-hand touch in 10 years. I'm done watching it, T-Money. If that's the case, I will definitely not watch football if it's two-hand touch. It does not appeal to me whatsoever. I coached flag football when my kids played it, and it's absolutely fucking boring. It's horrible. Robert Rhodes says Big Ben was the last quarterback to win a Super Bowl in his first contract prior to Flacco in 2012. There you go. You got the stats, Robert. I am not a stat junkie. Absolutely not. Mark Malone, hopefully they'll bring back Rudolph instead. Fields is in the pole smoker position. That's a good one. That's a good one. I hate this current quarterback, this current market for quarterbacks. It's gotten ridiculous, and why they should be paying so much only for the maybe/possible because of Deshaun Watson BS. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Definitely. You know, another thing, I love it when you guys say, hey, like, this is going on. These are stats. Like when Robert posts stats, I love that, guys. And I want you guys to do more of it because I don't always have to be right. And I can tell you this on other shows, if you post something that you're trying to create conversation with and things of that nature, but it's not necessarily what the host is saying, they're going to ignore your comment. They're not going to be big enough to read your comment and discuss that stuff. I just want to tell you guys that I appreciate that, and I want you guys to do more of it. It's definitely much appreciated, and I like to get to everybody's comment as much as I can. Downtown John Broadway, I hate that we did that. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, what's up? Ben was special, and if not for his great games leading up to the Super Bowl, the Steelers never get Jerome to Detroit. Yeah, how about the tackle? How about that AFC Championship game performance on the arm of Ben Roethlisberger? He had his down moments of that season, absolutely, where he struggled. But you know what? He made the big plays when he had to make the big plays, and definitely was a major reason that the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to get to Detroit. Did he have the best Super Bowl game ever? No, fuck no. But you know what? They played as a team, and that's what you saw in 2005 from your Pittsburgh Steelers. They were very team-oriented, and that's something that you don't see all the time. All right, guys, you got to double tap that screen. It's absolutely fucking free, my friends, to hit the like button. It doesn't cost you a damn red cent. Double tap that screen, or there's 3 little white dots up in the right-hand corner of your screen. You can bring down that like box that way. If we don't get more than these amounts of likes, we're going to have to hit that monetization button on here and put those ads in. So, guys, let's go. Let's double tap that screen. Let's show out here at Mic Drop Sports and show how many likes we can actually ring up there on that little board, that little counter. TD, why is it so hard to get on a moving train when Preston Smith and other traded players get playing time, but Roman was sitting at the train station? Probably because he's a rookie and Tomlin has this weird thing about rookies that he does not trust them at all. And it's very obvious. There's very few rookies that I feel like get that major opportunity with Tomlin, but maybe I'm just blinded a little bit by Tomlin's stupidity and I don't notice maybe more of players that are rookies getting opportunity. But I just feel like he's really, tough with the rookie stuff and doesn't allow them to really spread their wings and fly. One game away from 500. You know how sad that was, 10-3 and fucking fall apart like they did. That's so crazy. That's such a coaching move or coaching problem there. Craig Werlo, there are so many teams that are quarterback starved that could bump the price tag for Fields higher than expected. That's what I am afraid of. And that's the problem. And that's why I find them in that $25-30 million range right now, sadly. I think it was Robert that brought up several shows ago of 7 to 10 million, I believe is what he said, or 7 to 8 million. I feel that would be the normal, real market value of Justin Fields. But again, with what Craig is saying, when other teams are interested, it bumps that price tag up and it creates a real issue in terms of overpaying. I don't think it's a tremendous overpay if you give Justin Fields $25-30 million, but it is an overpay. It definitely is because he hasn't done enough to warrant that money. And again, guys, this isn't per season. This is over 2 years in my eyes, 2-year deal, $25 million. You're looking at what, $12.5 million per year. If you're at $25 million. So it's not a tremendously bad salary at all. It's actually pretty good in terms of quarterback contracts. But I think that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers got to be. And if somebody says, look, man, Justin says like, hey, man, I got an offer for $20 million to go play for the Jets per year over the next 2 seasons, $40 million, fully guaranteed. You got to let him go. You can't compete with that offer, guys. I'm sorry. You go to plan B, and that's Russell Wilson. Or you go to plan C, and that's a rookie in the mid-rounds of the 2025 NFL draft, and let that little fucker sling it. That's what you do. That's what you do. How many Super Bowls does Mike Tomlin have? 1. He played in 2. Seymour Whitetail. I heard Russell Wilson will reunite with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas. Possible. Ivan, I think they're still trying to recover losing Bill Cowher. Yeah, that's a long time ago. I think they've recovered from it. I just think Mike Tomlin's not the answer anymore. Seymour Whitetail, I think Fields is underrated, and if he had a supporting cast like Jalen Hurts, he would excel tremendously. I did a show on that. Many disagreed with me, but if you look at their skill sets, they're pretty damn similar. Jalen knows a winner, man. That's the difference. He's a fucking winner. Whether the stats are there or not, Jalen just finds ways to get it done, and that's okay, and I love that from my quarterback. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts than Josh Allen. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts than Lamar Jackson. Why? Because he just finds ways to win. He's quiet. He just puts his head down. I'm not saying Josh Allen or Lamar are bad guys in the media or anything, because they're not. I'm just saying I just really admire the way Jalen Hurts approaches the game. And even when people were talking shit, even during the 2024 season there, when people in the media were trying to create that media firestorm around Jalen and those 2 star-studded wide receivers that they have in Philadelphia, even when that was going down, Jalen did not blink. He just kept working, kept going, and realized that this too shall pass, that this was just another bump in the road. And he was able to continue on and really show people that wasn't the case, and what they were trying to create an issue with wasn't a problem, and there was no need to even entertain it. All right, guys, I need 5 more. You to double tap that screen. Let's hit that like button. Let's get up to 30 likes here on the live stream. Let's keep going. Ernie, Elway, Manning, Mark Malone. Yeah, there's very few. Ernie, in my opinion, I'm again, this isn't from looking up stats. This wasn't from looking up anything. This was going off of my head. And when do I feel as a fan that I've saw success at the quarterback position? I feel like it's in that first 5 to 6 years of a quarterback being in the league. That's just what I feel happens, And again, stats may prove me wrong, but that's the vibe I get when I'm watching. And again, guys, I do this podcast more off a feel than I do anything. Do I have some notes sometimes? Absolutely. But guys, For all of 2024, this was all the notes that I wrote for 2024. That's it to do this show. So that should tell you something, and that includes a mock draft or 10 inside of there. So let's go over some of those players real quick inside of the draft that I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers could just look at. Let's talk about some of the players that could be available around that first round. I don't necessarily want the Steelers to go defensive line in the first round because I think you can get that later in the draft. I feel like this is probably the deepest draft in terms of defensive linemen that there's been in quite some time. But you're looking at players along that defensive line like a Deion Walker, those types of players that could be around at that time. But you're looking at players at the wide receiver spot. Luther Burden could be there, or Mbeke and Buke. Or who else do I have down here? Trey, what's his name? I can't even see it. Harris, I believe. But these are players that I've been starting to research, and I don't want to butcher any names, and I know I can't pronounce some of these names. They are very eccentric. But these are some of the players that I've been starting to research that could be around in that late first round, second round area. Vernon Brighton out of Texas is another defensive lineman that I've been looking at. Jalen Royals, a wide receiver. C.J. West, another defensive lineman. Isaiah Bond, a wide receiver out of Texas that I think could be a possibility in that second round area late. Matthew Golden, another wide receiver out of Texas. There's Alec. I think you say Amarner. I can't pronounce his last name, but we'll put it all up on the screen when we do it. Torrey Hartman. Tay Felton is another wide receiver that I've been starting to look at a little bit. I think that he is somebody that could do some good things. He could be a third round guy even. So, guys, there's some like that. Like I said, Deion Walker would be a guy that you could consider taking in the first round, in my opinion. But again, I think what you really need to focus on is a true nose tackle. And that has to be the priority when you're going to draft one of these guys or look for somebody in free agency along this defensive front. I think true nose tackle has to be where you approach it first. That has to be your number one priority. And then adding defensive line depth to support Cam Hayward and oh my God, why am I losing his name? But anyway, Keanu Benton, sorry. His name was just drawing a blank. But when we get into this season of looking at players, I have so many names in my head. It's like I can barely pronounce them. I can't think of them all. It drives me crazy. But those names, guys, could be around in that first, second, early third area. Those guys are all rank up there, in that top probably, I'd say 100 players, 120 players of the NFL draft. And another position that I think is very deep this year that a lot of players sit inside the top 100 prospects are cornerback. I think you could get that also a second or third round guy to really match some stud up with Joey Porter Jr. So those are some of the names, guys, that we need to start looking at. So if you guys want to start looking at some of these players, and then also for tomorrow night, bring some of your players in that you want to talk about, because I think we're going to dive into that more this week than ever. Also, free agency is March 12th. The legal tampering period, I think, is slightly above that or before that. So, that's all going to be going. But we're going to start our mock drafts, and then we're really going to dive into free agency. You saw the Miami Dolphins release a couple players. One of the ones that I saw was somebody, or that was a player that could possibly, fit. They've dealt with some injuries, though, is Raheem Mostert. Maybe he could be a guy that the Steelers look at in free agency and bring in. Again, a lot of names starting to get tossed around. A lot of names inside of the draft. A lot of names inside of free agency. And this is going to be a tricky thing for the Steelers to navigate, man. All right, guys, let's... Man, you guys loaded up the chat, guys. I'm not going to be able to read them all because we're about out of time. Let me try to pick one. Tyrone Johnson trade up for Mason Graham, round one. What position is he, Tyrone? Is he wide receiver? Yeah, Najee's gone, Lynn. I don't think they're going to offer him any type of contract. Daniel Worm, times are changing. Incentive-based contracts are becoming extinct. Yeah, it's all about the guaranteed money now, Daniel. That's what it's really about. That's what players are looking for. Incentives don't really matter to them anymore. They're looking at just what the guaranteed bottom line dollar is to them. The amount of guaranteed money kind of dictates where a player's going to go. No, we don't. Quit asking me to name players for edits, guys. I don't do that shit. Don't ask me to name a car for an edit, name a player for an edit, name a team for an edit. Go do your own shit. I don't care about your edits. Jonathan Knoll, I like Kenneth Grant more than Mason Graham. There's a lot, guys. There is a lot, man. I think, honestly, the most realistic option, and I think for their first round selection, is going to be Ibuke. I really, really think that that is going to be how it shakes out. I think that wide receiver is a highly talented guy. I think he is going to be available when the Steelers pick, and I think the Steelers could really grab a high quality target there. I think that that's where they go with their first round pick. But I could also see a Deion Walker. I could also see, somebody else along that defensive front that may fall to that area that they really highly covet, because there is a ton of defensive linemen. And again, it's going to depend how trades work out, guys. You get one weird, wonky trade thrown in here, and all of a sudden this shit goes off the fucking rails. And now everything that you had mapped out is kind of just all gone by the wayside. And that's why I say it's really hard to predict this shit. I did predict, I think, one right last year in terms of my first three picks, and that was Zach Frazier. I thought they would get him there. That's what I thought would be their second round pick. So I think I got one right out of three, the top three. I'm not sure about Sean. But also, guys, we're going to get Sean back on. So when we're talking draft stuff, I'm going to get him back on this weekend, hopefully. Sean, if you're out there, hopefully you can join us this weekend. We're going to get these mock drafts going. So, again, those were just to mention some names. So, tomorrow night, come armed with some of your players that you would like, and we'll do our first mock draft of the 2025 off season. And then I believe Wednesday or Thursday, we will go and really dive into free agency and talk about realistic options and what the Steelers could add in terms of wide receivers, and maybe fill in any types of other holes that they may have. But we've talked about the quarterback position at length. I believe we won't have to go there. So we'll utilize all the other positional groups and talk about that. And then on Friday, I think we'll take what we talked about in our first mock draft and our first real dive into free agency and really try to piece those together and maybe come up with a little bit of a game plan and how that all looks against the salary cap. Again, I think the Steelers hold about roughly $65 to $70 million right now in available cap space headed towards March 12th, but they will have even more because there will be other cuts. There will be other moves to make more money available for the Steelers. So a lot going on. So again, guys, thank you for liking, thanking you for sharing, thanking you for subscribing. And again, if you haven't already, please do, because this is a channel not for Jason to preach things at you. This is a channel for you to bring your ideas and we talk about them. And you bounce them off me, I bring them out there, and when I speak about them, everybody else in the chat gets to hear them. So that's how we carry on this conversation. And again, guys, I've beat this idea around for a very, very long time about putting live calls onto the show. And I think I'm going to be able to do it. I think I've figured it out. So look for that to be happening very, very soon, to where we are going to take 2 times a week. We're not going to do it every day. I believe 2 times a week during the live show, we are going to have the show with just live callers that can call in and have your voice heard, and we'll have conversation off of what you say. So look for that in the next couple weeks also. So maybe a week or 2, but I think I've figured it out, and I think I've figured out how we can do it. So we're going to try all that. So until tomorrow. I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports and the show Steel City Live. Peace, my friends. Thank you. We've went over an hour, so I got to wrap it up. All right, see you on the next one, guys.